Something has changed in our solar system. 3I Atlas, the interstellar traveler that once drifted silently between the stars, has crossed a threshold no one expected. When it passed near Mars, most telescopes saw nothing unusual. Just another comet reflecting sunlight. White, then yellow. Then the faint green typical of ionized gases. But one probe, far from Earth, saw something else. China's Tianwen-1 orbiter, orbiting Mars, briefly turned one of its cameras toward the void. And caught it. A shift. A flash of deep crimson spreading from the comet's core. The familiar glow vanished, replaced by a pulsing red heartbeat of light. A heat signature, impossible for any natural comet. That moment may have been the first real proof that 3I Atlas isn't what we thought. Because something out there woke up. Tianwen-1 was never built for deep space tracking. Its instruments were designed to map Martian terrain and climate. Yet, as 3I Atlas approached, mission engineers quietly reprogrammed one camera to look beyond the red planet. What it recorded changed everything. The comet's color transformation was unlike anything seen from Earth. White to yellow, yellow to green, and then red. Not the red of dust or reflected sunlight. This was luminous, radiant, alive, and it pulsed rhythmically every 9 hours. When scientists studied the data, the shock was immediate. The thermal readings showed temperatures over 5,000 degrees Celsius, 10 times what a comet should produce that far from the sun. And those pulses, repeated like a power cycle, rising and falling with mechanical precision. At first, they thought the data was faulty, but every test confirmed the same impossible pattern. 3I Atlas wasn't just warming up. It was generating heat from within. Then came the real discovery. The infrared spectrum revealed traces of nickel vapor, the kind only released when metal is heated to over 3,000 degrees. No natural comet could vaporize nickel that far from the sun. And yet, there it was. For propulsion engineers, that signature looked hauntingly familiar. Nickel alloys, used in plasma and ion engines, leave behind the same spectral fingerprints. It was as if the comet were running on power. Some said it wasn't thrust, but regulation, an internal mechanism keeping itself from overheating. Whatever it was, Tianwen-1 had captured something no one had ever seen before. A celestial body manufacturing heat. Deliberately. Then the pattern grew stranger. Every pulse of heat was accompanied by a faint flicker of light. The cycle was perfect. Every 9 hours, 4 minutes, 32 seconds, not a second more, not a second less. Natural objects don't behave like that. They flare unpredictably, erupt chaotically. But this wasn't chaos. It was routine. Researchers noticed harmonic overtones in the data, symmetrical peaks resembling controlled plasma oscillations. Even the probe's magnetometer detected synchronized magnetic ripples, faint but constant. 3I Atlas was no longer just glowing. It was active, electromagnetically alive, and more disturbingly, it was feeding. As weeks passed, something unthinkable occurred. Instead of losing mass as it approached the sun, as every comet does, 3I Atlas grew heavier. Radar analysis showed its gravitational pull had increased threefold. It wasn't shedding material, it was collecting it. Dust and charged particles that should have been blown away by solar wind were instead spiraling inward, drawn toward the glowing nucleus. Physicists proposed a radical idea. The object might be generating a magnetic field strong enough to trap and absorb interplanetary dust. converting it into energy. In other words, it was harvesting the solar system. A self-sustaining probe feeding on starlight and matter, repairing itself as it travelled. Not just surviving the journey, thriving on it. Then, one night, something leaked. A small data file, 14 megabytes, appeared anonymously on a Chinese science forum. It contained a compressed telemetry log and a single image. Timestamp, October 14th, 2025. In that image, faint but undeniable, a crimson sphere hovered against the black, wrapped in concentric magnetic rings. A second, smaller object floated nearby, tethered by a faint red filament. The caption read only, Frame 119, internal activation. Within hours, the file spread across the world. Amateur astronomers verified the coordinates. The spectral fingerprints, nickel, carbon dioxide, ionized plasma, all matched. But one line in the data changed everything. A 22-second delay in electromagnetic feedback. A returning signal. An echo. If true, it meant that when Tianwen-1 scanned the object, 3I Atlas replied. Governments denied everything. NASA, ESA and CNSA all released identical statements. No verified evidence supports claims of anomalous emissions or self-activation in interstellar object 3I Atlas. But their silence only deepened the mystery, because the object didn't stop. As it entered Jupiter's gravitational field, it grew bright again, brighter than ever before. Infrared detectors around the world recorded an energy spike so massive it had to be shut down to prevent overload. The estimated power output? 50 gigawatts, enough to light an entire nation. Then, just as suddenly, its trajectory shifted. A tiny, deliberate correction, 1.2 kilometers per second, precisely enough to counter Jupiter's pull. It didn't tumble, it didn't fragment, it adjusted course, as if it knew where it was going. And then silence. By December, the red glow faded. The object cooled to a dull white, its light barely distinguishable from background stars. Some thought it had burned out. Others feared the opposite. Because when astronomers recalculated its trajectory, they found it was slowing down, decelerating in open space, without gravity, without drag. Nothing in nature slows down out there. Nothing, unless it wants to. The final transmission from Tianwen-1 arrived soon after. A weak signal, low energy, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. When converted into a visual spectrogram, it showed fractal bands nested within one another, intricate, deliberate, impossible to mistake for noise. Then the signal stopped. 3I Atlas dimmed completely and was gone. No reflection, no heat, just silence. Officially, it passed beyond observation range, but leaked notes from within China's space agency said something else. Final emissions suggest stabilization rather than decay. Stabilization, meaning it didn't die, it reached equilibrium. Somewhere beyond Jupiter, hidden in the dark, an object that once reflected sunlight learned to make its own. And then, when it no longer needed to be seen, it turned itself off. Thanks for watching. If you have made it this far, remember, sometimes what we call discovery is just the moment something decides to be seen. And sometimes it's when it decides to disappear.